Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on boxing. So this is as much effort as I'm going to put into women's boxing, but it's because it's a real topic, especially after today. Some people like to react with race and emotion, and that's the whole basis to their argument. You know, they come out with statements like, "There's nothing you can say to say that so and so isn't as good as so and so. Oh, so and so's done more than anyone else, and there's nothing you can say that proves different." Well, no, there are things that literally prove different. And today we're going to talk about it. So this is not based on emotion. It's not based on race. I don't care. In truth, when I go on social media and all these people are fucking celebrating Clarissa Shields becoming a heavyweight champion in women's boxing, I have to scratch my head and think, who the fuck did she fight? It'd be the equivalent of Big Baby Anderson fighting somebody who's never fought anybody with a winning record in their 10-fight pro career, who's somehow the world champion, and he goes and fights that person. It'd be no shock or surprise that he would knock that person out inside 2 rounds. Would that prove that he is the GOAT? Of course it wouldn't. And this is the same thing. We'll get into it. Obviously, this is a fight nobody was even talking about. Nobody even knew it was happening. But then now in hindsight, oh my God, Clarissa Shields proves the haters wrong. What did she prove? Nobody went into that fight saying that Clarissa Shields was going to lose. She's fighting literally one of 21 women in the heavyweight division. One of 21. That's how deep that division is. It's ironic that when people want to criticize lower weight divisions, right, they talk about how shallow those divisions are. Yet in comparison to this division, it ain't even fucking serious. Let's go to minimum wage for 1 second. I'm just going to jump over to BoxRec, and we're going to see how many minimum wage male boxers there are currently. And we know, obviously, minimum weight is probably the least filled division in male boxing. So, male boxing. Okay, so you shouldn't pay attention to these smaller weight divisions because in truth, they're not deep, right? And because they're not deep, there's not really a lot of talent that these guys are beating. Yet currently in the minimum weight division, there are 5,718 professional boxers. 5,718 in the smallest division in male boxing, right? Now let's take a look at the heavyweight division for female boxing. Just to put it in context. And these are all stats you can go check out for yourself. Obviously, I'm not lying. So in this division, there are, what happened? How come last time I looked there was 21 people and now all of a sudden there's far more? What kind of bullshit is this? What did BoxRec do? Last time, literally last time, there were 21 female boxers when I looked last time. 21. Now, of course, the numbers are different. Okay. And last time there was only one other fighter who had a winning record, which was 10-1. Now, when you look here, there's a lot of other women that people weren't talking about. So the division looks deeper. But it's ironic because we got another black girl here called Vonda Ward, who's 23-1 from Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, sorry, white girl. 6'6", 78-inch reach, right? 21-1, 17 knockouts. How come Clarissa Shields didn't fight her? Right? I know this woman's not the champion, but literally the woman that was the champion had never beaten anyone. Right? So I don't know how she was a legitimate world champion. I think what they did is they combined light heavyweight and heavyweight division together. Let me just check this out. Because that's the irony. They even list cruiserweight division here now. But yet Clarissa Shields today fought for the light heavyweight title and the heavyweight title. Okay, so here you go. In the cruiserweight division, literally there's 4 fighters. Four cruiserweights in women's boxing. There were 21 in female boxing, but now all of a sudden there's more. In light heavyweight boxing, there are 99. So 99 light heavyweights, but somehow now heavyweight has jumped up from the last time I looked at it. Don't ask me why, because literally when I said there was 21 female fighters, I was literally looking at the boxing and that's what it said. Now all of a sudden there's far more. So let's just be accurate and be fair. Currently right now there are 282 female boxers in the world. That's obviously much better than 21. But when you compare that to the smallest male division where there's 5,700, here there are 282, right? And when you go to the number one group, the top 50, you know, the first 23 people, their records are not too bad for the most part. And outside of that, everybody else's records are terrible. Losses, draws, losing records, and nothing to speak of. You can go check it out yourself. I'm not going out of my way to try to hate on Clarissa Shields. I'm just trying to point out the irony from upset boxing fans, right? Who love to try to demean non-black American men who fight in smaller weight divisions by criticizing their divisions and talking about how there's no depth. So it's not really valid. Whereas you are trying to act like Clarissa Shields is the GWOAT, yet she's fighting in divisions where there's nobody. Cruiserweight, there's 4 fighters. And now, of course, there's 282 apparently in the heavyweight division, even though last time I looked, BoxRec had 21 listed. So I don't know where all these fighters came from, but they're there. Okay. Next, she's going to fight Vonda Ward, who is 6'6". But let's get to this, because I heard people saying people are crying, emotional, beating their wife, all because Clarissa Shields won. And it sort of boggles my mind because 99% of men that watch boxing don't really fucking care about female boxing, right? So it's not like they even knew Clarissa Shields was fighting and they didn't care. Unlike, of course, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Let's take a peek at this fight, a fight that actually people are paying attention to, people actually care about. So here we go. So this is the fight poster for Katie Taylor Serrano 2, which obviously the date has changed because of the Mike Tyson pullout. And obviously this is something that's going to be sponsored by Netflix. So Netflix is literally showcasing a women's boxing match, right? And if you're really a boxing fan and you're not just here trying to push race politics, you would say easily the best fight you've ever seen in women's boxing is Katie versus Serrano #1. It was a great fight, potentially fight of the year across men and women's boxing. It was a very good fight. It's a fight that I watched and I was very, very, very satisfied with the result of the fight. Hence, I'm excited about #2. And I'm not surprised if Serrano wins #2 because she was literally this close to stopping Katie Taylor in the first fight. And obviously Katie Taylor, it's 37 years old, is, getting a little old in the tooth. But, nonetheless. So we want to talk about people being the GOAT. And basically we want to do it just to talk about Black American boxing. Because that's the only reason people are praising Clarissa Shields. Because it pushes their narrative. Right? And that's literally the only reason they care, because in truth, they don't even watch women's boxing, but always pushing a narrative, always trying to make it about race. Yet Clarissa Shields wished she was in a situation where she was getting paid by Netflix to put on a fight like this. Like, people like to hype up Tank Davis and talk about him being the face of boxing and this and that based on how much pay-per-view and how much attention he's getting. Yet these guys are literally getting more attention than fucking Tank Davis. Tank Davis is not fighting on Netflix, right? In female boxing, this is the equivalent of Uh, I don't know. What's her face? Caitlin Clark being a part of the NBA's All Star game, or more so, even bigger than that. Who knows what it is? But obviously, this is huge for women's boxing. It really shows women's boxers that there is money to be made. It goes back to, of course, the girl that Ronda Rousey, who was leading the MMA. People wanted to make that about race. I don't know how you make it about race. There's no black woman that actually was dominant in the MMA. So why is it a race thing? It's not a race thing. Ronda Rousey sold, and because she sold and made money for the UFC, she headlined events. She was the biggest star in the UFC as a woman. So for feminists and Disney and woke America, she is the perfect scenario. And so are these two women, not Clarissa Shields, but these women, right? They're showing you that women's sports, along with Katie Taylor and Ronda Rousey, can compete with male sports. I mean, and it can on a smaller scale, right? We could see that with Serena Williams. Oh, I'm sorry, she's black. I shouldn't mention her. But the way she dominated in female tennis, right? This has nothing to do with color. It just has to do with females and the fact that the majority of sports fans are males, and the majority of male sports fans care more about male sports than they do female sports, right? And the fact that these two ladies are crossing over really is fucking making Clarissa Shields jealous. Serrano was just on a big card getting paid more money than fucking Clarissa Shields got paid easily this weekend, and she's jealous because of it. So what does she have to do? She's got to call them out, belittle them, and make it about her to try to sell her fight, because literally nobody was talking about it. No one gave a fuck. She was fighting an opponent literally even Ring IQ has never heard of before. And he is probably the biggest female boxing channel on YouTube, right? But let's move forward. So Clarissa Shields has won 8 vacant titles. Yes, 8. Out of all her belts, and we know John hates people that collect belts, but literally she is the epitome of someone who's chasing titles. When you win 8 titles that have been vacated, it means you're winning 8 titles that nobody has, nobody is holding. You're not fighting anybody legitimate to win those titles. Basically, anybody that wanted to pay for the sanctioning fees could have fought and won those titles. Literally anybody, right? So she paid for the sanctioning fees, and she was allowed to win these titles, 8 of them. So out of all these weight classes and all these titles she's held, literally 8 of them have been vacant. Even today's fight, she ended up winning the light heavyweight title. How is the light heavyweight title attached to the heavyweight title when there's also a cruiserweight division? But somehow she was able to win now multiple weight divisions, win the light heavyweight division as well, which was a vacant title. So they just attached this vacant title along with Clarissa Shields so she could become a 2-weight champion on top of what she's already achieved. These titles are meaningless. You're winning vacant titles, not beating legitimate champions and doing it, right? Taylor has beaten 5 world champions to collect her world titles, while Shields has also beaten 5 world champions to collect her belts. The difference is Katie Taylor has been undisputed in 2 weight divisions, having 8 titles, one of which was vacant. The other 7, she beat champions, or in this case, they were unified already, so she beat 5 champions to win the other 7 titles out of her 8. Whereas Clarissa Shields is what? 8, 9, 10, 11. Is it more? 12, 13, 14, 15? I don't know. 15, 16 belts that she's won? I'm not sure. I didn't want to do the math. But the reality is, let's say it's 16, whatever. Half of those were vacant titles. And she only beat 5 world champions out of it, right? So you have all these titles that you can hold and act like you've actually accomplished something because you've done more than any woman in female boxing. But that's because all these titles are literally vacant. Anybody could have won them. All they had to do was pay sanctioning fees. And they too could have won multitudes of titles. But let's move forward. So here we go. Katie Taylor currently 23-1. Clarissa Shields 15-0. Yes, Taylor has a loss because literally that's the kind of opposition she's facing. She's facing pound for pound top 10 women day after day after day, moving up, challenging women that are bigger than her in most cases. Whereas Clarissa Shields, the best fighters she's faced are fighters who've come up in weight to challenge her. Because at her size and her weight divisions, there's literally fucking very little competition. Chantal Cameron, or whoever she is, she was one of the people that people were most excited about because she was probably potentially the best woman that she had and potentially the biggest rival she could have fought, right? The problem is because she has no rivals, Cameron didn't really get an opportunity to really prove herself and really do anything to make that fight even more significant. Do the research. Check it out. So here we go. So here is Katie Taylor's resume. And you look at the quality of opposition here. And obviously, when I say she's beat 5 world champions, that's 5 world champions she's beaten to collect titles. She's beaten multitudes of other women that were ex-world champions or went on to become world champions. Example, Jessica McCaskill, who went on to become an undisputed champion. At that time, she beat her. McCaskill obviously wasn't a world champion. She beat Bustos, who was a world champion. She beat Eva Wallstrom, who was a champion. Rose Voltaire, Delphine Persoon, who was a monster. Christine Lanadu, Miriam Gutierrez, Natasha Jonas, Amanda Serrano, and of course, Chantal Cameron. So at least 10 world champions she's beaten in her career. 23 fights, 24 fights, and literally 10 champions. So almost half of the people she's faced have been world champions and established world champions. Not kind of people that just hold a belt and then lose it the first time they defend it. All these people were dominant fighters in their division. Elite, top fighters. And many of whom, after getting beat by Taylor, went on to become champions again or for the first time, right? Showing you the quality that they had. We look at hers, Shields. She fought Cruz, her first fight, who was making her debut, who went on to become a champion, and then they got knocked out by the same girl that knocked out the girl that literally this girl just knocked out today, the steroid, short-haired Argentinian girl. Then she went on to defeat Nikki Adler, a quality opponent, was undefeated, but I don't know if Nikki Adler has ever been a champion. Tori Nelson was solid, beat her, but I don't know if Tori Nelson's ever been a champion. Hannah Gabriels was a champion, a good opponent. Then, of course, Christine Hammer, undefeated, was a good opponent. Marie-Eve Decaire, the Canadian, undefeated, a good opponent. And Savannah Marshall. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 high-level opponents. But she's the GWOAT. But this is all she's done. She hasn't had the same caliber of opponents that Katie Taylor has, right? We're looking at people like Franchon Cruz, who's got multiple losses in her career. Hannah Gabriel, who hasn't done anything since losing, of course, to Clarissa Shields. Christine Hammer, who hasn't done anything since losing to Clarissa Shields. So you could say a lot of what they had done was beat nobodies to have good titles, but after they got beat, they went on to do nothing. They didn't go on to become world champions once again, right? In weak divisions. Marie-Eve Decaire, I'm not sure if she's bounced back with anything significant since then. And then, of course, Savannah Marshall. I think she's bounced back, but obviously I don't know if she's bounced back with anything significant because I don't watch women's boxing that much. You tell me if any of these women have went on and really established them as champions after losing to Clarissa Shields. And it's not because she ruined them. It's because they're just not elite champions. They didn't do anything really before she fought them. They hadn't really established themselves outside, I think, of the Canadian, Marie-Eve Decaire. I think she was probably the most established champion that Clarissa Shields has ever fought. Savannah Marshall was young and just coming up. Obviously, Hannah Gabriels hadn't really beaten anyone. Christine Hammer hadn't really beaten anyone. The two things that benefited those two girls is they were attractive. Their sexiness is really what was the biggest draw to them, right? But outside of that, they didn't really do anything in the sport. They didn't have great resumes. They didn't beat great opponents. They didn't become undisputed and unified champions. They didn't really do anything that hallmarks them as pound for pound top fighters in the sport. Let's look here. So what did Kaylor do for women's boxing? Because if you're the GWOAT, you got to think about how you've helped women's boxing. We already looked at how Serrano and Taylor, right, are fighting on Netflix, bringing tons of eyes to women's boxing, but she's done more. Before the Olympics, where Clarissa Shields was able to win 2 medals, there were no Olympics. Women's boxing was not eligible, was not accepted by the Olympic Committee until Katie Taylor showed her dominance in female amateur boxing. And because of her and obviously Ireland pushing to get the Olympics, women's boxing in the Olympics, that's why women's boxing actually broke into the Olympics. Thank you very much, Katie Taylor. Because of her dominance, you can see here, she won 5 consecutive gold medals at the Women's World Championships, gold medals 6 times in the European Championships, and won 5 times in the European Union Championships. Hugely popular in Ireland, she is credited with raising the profile of women's boxing at home and abroad, right? She is the reason why women's boxing was allowed to become an amateur sport. And this is groundbreaking, historical, right? So when we talk about GWOAT, we talk about somebody who's done something historical, like being a fight on Netflix, having the Olympics start having female boxing, thanks to you and your dominance in amateur boxing. And these are the kind of things Katie Taylor has done. But because unlike Clarissa Shields, she's not all over social media saying a bunch of bullshit, demeaning other women and other athletes, but just doing what she has to do in the ring, all of a sudden she's not really the GWOAT. Because unlike a lot of Black American athletes, she's not over fucking Twitter fucking talking reckless. Because that's what Clarissa Shields does consistently. And we will show this later on in this video, how most of her attention comes from talking reckless on social media. And of course, her brother punching a fucking 70-year-old man in the head, right? Which obviously, shows her the family values that she fucking has, her family. But okay, nonetheless. So here we go. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano draws unprecedented audience of 1.5 million views on DAZN in a record-breaking night. Just absorb that, right? 1.5 million people watch Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano 1 on DAZN. Huge fucking numbers. If we were to look at example, Clarissa Shields and the biggest fight she had and how many views that did, I can guarantee you it's nowhere fucking even close to 1.5 million views, even when it was on DAZN or on Showtime or wherever it was, right? You can do the research. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. But like this literally was groundbreaking for women's boxing. So here we go. 2012 Olympic gold medalist Taylor will reportedly earn $6 million from the fight, which takes place on the same card as Mike Tyson bout with Jake Paul, who is Serrano's promoter. Taylor versus Serrano 2 will be the co-main event of Tyson versus Paul and will be available to watch on Netflix. Katie Taylor is going to get paid $6 million fucking dollars, right? That's more money than 95% of male boxers in the sport, right? But she's not the GWOAT. She's not groundbreaking. She's not doing things that are historical, right? Clarissa Shields is. How much money do you think Clarissa Shields got paid today to fight this unknown fucking heavyweight woman from Canada? She's lucky if she made $500,000. Lucky if she made $500,000, right? And that would be great because she don't really deserve that much money for fighting that fucking woman. She could probably find a better fighter in the fucking crowd than the person she faced in the ring. I'm just saying, right? But this is, again, the difference between calling somebody the GWOAT based on them just talking reckless on social media, or somebody that's literally benefiting the sport, doing it in the ring, and having real fucking influence on female boxing and boxing as a whole through men and women's boxing. So here we go. This is how Clarissa Shields improves boxing. Clarissa Shields has officially called out Keith Thurman for a fight at 154 pounds. This would be the first time in boxing history when a female fighter fights a male fighter. Could you imagine if that happened? First of all, what a fucking shit show. Like, this would really be a slap to Disney and woke women around the world. We've already seen it when 14-year-olds beat fucking Team USA soccer team. When we saw fucking, you know, WNBA players lose to fucking, men that weren't fucking superstar players, right? And now in this case, you're going to have Keith Thurman fight Clarissa Shields. Keith Thurman would beat the fuck out of Clarissa Shields. And then people would be fucking moaning and groaning and in their feelings that a man was allowed to beat the crap out of a woman. But yet people act like it's okay for this woman to call out men and push it. This is the same thing people were moaning and groaning about when Ronda Rousey said that she could beat Floyd Mayweather. But when she said she could beat Floyd Mayweather, she wasn't referring to boxing. She was just referring to fighting, MMA, being able to get him down and submit him. And in that case, she probably could have. The difference is, if they would have been standing up in boxing, obviously Floyd Mayweather would have kicked her ass. But this is, once again, no different than Ronda Rousey. If you were offended when Ronda Rousey and people were doing that, you should be equally offended with Clarissa Shields doing this. Because in both cases, if Ronda Rousey fought Floyd Mayweather and he beat the piss out of her, people would have moaned, groaned, and been fucking in their feelings. This is no different. The difference here is that this isn't the only person that Clarissa Shields has called out. Here you go. Clarissa Shields calls out Gennady Golovkin. Could give GGG a run for his money. Clarissa Shields could give fucking GGG a run for her money. Fucking Gennady Golovkin would fucking knock her the fuck out and send her into retirement just with his fucking jab. It's ridiculous. But this is her. And then you can see on the bottom, Clarissa Shields calls out Ryan Garcia for a boxing match amid social media beef. This is her. This is what she's contributing to female boxing and boxing as a whole, right? Whining and crying, pulling the race card consistently, blocking anybody that fucking has a different opinion than she has, and literally shitting on all the other women in boxing, telling people from 140 pounds to come up to 154, 160 to fight her. Talk about weight bully. She's the epitome of what a weight bully is, right? If you're offended that Canelo Alvarez is calling out, not that he's calling him out, because he never called out Bud Crawford, but fighting potentially Crawford and Charlo, well, then you should be equally offended here, maybe more so, because she's literally going out of her way on social media to call these smaller girls out. Serrano is what, a career 126-pound fighter? But you're calling her out, right? Like, this just shows you some people just all over fucking social media talking reckless. Nobody more than fucking Ryan Garcia right now. That dude, fucking Christ, man. What a fucking knob. So here we go. This is the difference between who Clarissa Shields just fought and who Katie Taylor is facing. Let's look at Clarissa Shields first. So we know Clarissa Shields knocked this girl out in 2 rounds. We know that previously Alejandro Jimenez, who at the time was 8-0, with only 8 professional fights, as opposed to Clarissa with 14, knocked that girl out in 3 rounds, right? And that's the same Jimenez that knocked out Cruz, what's-her-face, right? And then got caught using PEDs. Then you look at who else she's fought in her career. 2-0, 2-1, 1-1, 8-0, knocked her out, 2-1-1, 1-3-1, 3-1. She fought one person, finally was pretty good in a 10-rounder. Her second 10-rounder of her career. Literally, she's only had 2 10-rounders. She's the heavyweight champion. This girl's the heavyweight champion, but she's only had 2 fights that went 10 rounds. Like, they were officially 10-round fights. And she won one by split decision, and then she got fucking knocked out in the other one. And now she just faced Clarissa Shields and got knocked out again, right? So literally, she easily could have lost all 3 of her 10-round fights. But she's the heavyweight champion, this girl. And we're going to act like Clarissa Shields is the GWOAT because she beat this fucking woman, as if this is significant. I just showed you there's other girls currently in the heavyweight division, wherever they came from, who have way better records than this girl. So if Clarissa Shields is choosing to fight her, it looks like she's choosing to fight the easy fucking one, the easiest one available. Then we look at who Katie Taylor's fighting. Amanda Serrano. So her last fight, she fought a girl in Stevie Morgan who was 14-1, destroyed her. Then she faced Daniela Romas, 12-2. Heather Hardy, everybody knows Heather Hardy, world champion, top fighter, got a lot of attention, 24-2. Erica Cruz Hernandez, 15-1. Sarah Mahfoud, 11-0. Katie Taylor, a fight obviously she lost in a great fight, 20-0 at that time. Miriam Gutierrez, world champion, 14-1. Yamel Machado, 18-2. Danielle Romina Bermudez, 29-3. Danielle Santana, 36-12. Simone Silva, 17-14. Those are probably the two weakest people that you see right here. Obviously, she's had 40-something fights, so there are going to be some weak links. Of course, an undefeated Heather Hardy at 23-0. Oh, Eva Varaborg, 24-5. And Yamila Reynoso, 11-4-3. So this is the difference between caliber of opponent. One person is really a pound-for-pound fighter who's become a 5-weight world champion. I think now Clarissa Shields can say, me too, I've become a 5-weight world champion, because literally she won a vacant light heavyweight title today in a heavyweight card. This is the equivalent of what Sugar Ray Leonard did when he faced Donnie Lalonde, and he won the super middleweight title and the light heavyweight title in the same fight. And at that time, people were fucking up in arms, right? And that was before social media and everything else. You can only imagine what it would have been now. But this is the difference. One person is fighting a pound-for-pound quality opponent. The other one is fighting someone that's pure garbage, like literally pure fucking garbage. Never proved herself, never did anything. Her best win was a split decision. Other than that, everyone else she fought was a fucking bum. Bum. Literally, bum. 3-1, 1-3-1, 2-1, 1-1, 2-1, 2-0. Really? Okay, but that makes you the GWOAT, fighting this level of competition. Really. Right? And this is the problem with boxing. This kind of mental gymnastics that people like to fucking push and act like, you know, somebody is something just because they want that person to be that. I can show you reasons why Katie Taylor is the GWOAT, how she made amateur boxing. She's the one that allowed women's boxing to actually happen. Before her, without her, there would be no women's boxing. Clarissa Shields never would have had a chance to win 2 Olympic gold medals, and she wouldn't have been nearly as well known as she was if it wasn't for Katie Taylor opening the path to her becoming Olympian. As far as what she's done in the pros, we just saw 8 of her fucking world titles, vacant titles, meaning she did not have to beat a champion to acquire those titles. They were just vacant titles that nobody wanted because nobody wanted to pay sanctioning fees for those fucking belts. Right? I could grab a girl off the fucking street, make her a professional boxer, pay for fucking sanctioning fees, and that girl could win one of those fucking vacant titles. Like that. That's how simple it is. That makes you a GWOAT. And then you look at her resume and the limited level of competition she's faced. Literally, there's 3, 4, maybe 5 girls that we can kind of look at and say they're good fighters, quality, you know, by far the best fighters on her resume. But even them, what did they really do in the sport? What did they really do to make them stand out, right? Really. Like, let's just take a quick peek just to put it in perspective. So we go down and we see Franchan Cruz, right? She became a champion, but we saw in weak divisions where there are no fighters, right? This was a woman who lost to Katie Taylor and then was fighting girls that were 4-8, 4-2, 4-9-3, 12-2. I think that's when she won a vacant WBC title. Then she faced a girl who was 0-2-1. So in her first defense of a WBC title, she faced a girl that was 0-2-1. Then she faced a girl that was 13-3, pretty good, to unified titles. Then she faced, of course, Jimenez, who was 12-0-1, who beat her. Of course, then got stripped. And then then she fought a girl who was 8-13-4, and then a girl 8-0, and then a girl 12-1, and then her last fight she faced up and coming American prospect, Shandace Green, 13-0. Maybe that's who fucking Clarissa Shields should fight, right? This girl now is 14-1. Shandace Green, she just lost to Franchon Cruz, right? But yeah, then you look at who she fought. Again, in these divisions, there's not much competition. So Franchon Cruz. Then we move up. We look at Nikki Adler, who was 16-0 when she fought her. Now she's 16-2. She lost to Shields. Then she lost to Frankie Hermans, who was 6-1. And then basically retired. That's a quality win. Tori Nelson, who was 17-0, 22-3. Not bad. She bounced back with some wins. She lost to Shields. Then she lost to Christine Hammer. And then she beat some bum-ass fucking women. 4-11-3, 4-1-1, 4-12 in her last 3 fights before basically retiring in 2019. Hannah Gabriels, 18-1-1. Sexy German girl. Or Costa Rica fighting out of Germany, whatever she was. She lost to Shields. And then she faced a girl that was 3-4-2, 8-0, and 11-9, and hasn't fought since 2021. None of them have went on to do anything except, of course, Franchon Cruz. So one person actually established herself post-fight. Hannah Rankin is 5-2, went on to lose a million times after. So where is it? So she lost the fight before she faced literally she lost to a girl 9-1 before facing Clarissa Shields. And then she faced a girl, another girl, and then got beat by a girl 13-0 who no one's ever heard of, beat some girl, and then lost to Savannah Marshall, got stopped in 7 rounds, beat a few girls that are okay, then lost to Terry Harper over 10 rounds, and then lost her last 2 fights back-to-back. Her last fight against a girl was 6-2-1. So I can't say that really makes me very excited. Frankie Hermans, as I just said, what has she done? She lost to Shields, and she lost to a girl who was 5-0 after that. And then she went on and beat 3 girls before she got knocked out in 3 rounds by Savannah Marshall. And since then, she's won a few fights against, competition. Then Christian Hammer, the sexy German girl, 28-1, impressive record, tall girl. Lost to Clarissa Shields. Before she faced Shields, she beat a girl who was 8-7. Afterwards, 12-8, 6-3, 3-1, and 6-3. That's the kind of competition she made her career out of fighting, right? Literally. Never faced anyone except Maria Lindbergh, who was fucking reasonable. Other than that, everyone she mostly fought was nothing special. Jessica Bolon, okay, and Sophie Mathia. So 3 fighters on her whole resume had winning resumes, and you could say were quality opposition. Eva Habazinian. What did Eva do? She lost to Clarissa Shields. Before she fought Shields, she fought a girl who was 14-14, 8-5-1, 8-5, 0-2, 0-0-1, and 26-3-0. So she fought Michaela Lauren in 2016, got knocked out in 3 rounds, went on to face 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bumps, and then fucking got a fight with Clarissa Shields, went the distance with her. Then faced a girl 14-4, and then got beat by Terry Harper. And then since then, she's faced 2 other girls. So literally every time she steps up, she gets beat. Marie-Eve Declaire. She's Canadian, so of course I got to hype her up, even though she's like old. But what did the Canadian do? Before facing her, she faced what kind of competition? She beat Lauren, right, who we just established was good. She beat Maria Lindbergh, also that we established was good. She beat Chris Namus, who we established just now was good. So 3 quality opponents. And then Suarez, a good opponent. So 4 really good opponents back to back. And then faced Shields and got beat. Mind you, she was fighting super welterweight. And then after losing to Shields, she faced a girl who was 9-0, bouncing back with a good win, winning a vacant title, and then just not fought Natasha Jonas and got beat by Natasha Jonas. I mean, maybe Natasha Jonas is an opponent that Clarissa Shields should fight, right? Natasha Jonas has 2 losses, but she's a quality opponent, a quality operator. And then Emma Kozin lost to Shields, and then she faced 3 bum opponents. Well, Rankin is not bad, but 12-6, I wouldn't say it was great. Namus wasn't bad. She beat her. She beat Lindbergh, but obviously Lindbergh at this time was 18-5. So 2 opponents that people are familiar with, and then lost to Shields and hasn't really done anything since. Only 1 loss, so you got to give it all credit as credit is due. And then, of course, Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall, who beat Femke Hermans. Before that, she beat some girl I never heard that was undefeated, Maria Lindbergh, Rankin, all older, established girls, but obviously, not winners when she faced them. And her last fight, she just beat Franz Cruz, beating her in 10 rounds to become undisputed super middleweight champion, obviously after moving up after the Clarissa Shields loss. So she was obviously fighting at a lower weight division, not her best weight, because she faced Clarissa Shields for her middleweight title. And now obviously she moved up and faced Von Cruz at super middleweight. So maybe Clarissa Shields needs to fight her again for undisputed at 168 at a more comfortable weight, right? I mean, she's fighting at heavyweight after all. So really what we're just trying to do is put things in perspective. This is the level of opposition Clarissa Shields is facing. Not bad, right? But has she been facing the kind of opposition that makes you think she's a GWOAT? Outside of potentially a young Savannah Marshall, who went on to become a champion afterwards, Cruz, who Savannah Marshall beat, who went on to become a champion after getting beat by her. Eve-Marie Leclerc, I think they just said she won a vacant title. Maybe I'm mistaken, but obviously she's older. So at this point, you can't expect her to go on to do too much anyway. So 2 of the fighters that she's faced in her career have literally followed up their loss to Shields and went on to prove that they were dominant fighters in female boxing by going on and getting big, significant wins in their career. The rest, no. So what does that tell you about the quality of opposition she's facing? If you're not facing girls that are the elite women in the division, and after you beat them, go on to fucking solidify themselves as still the best women in boxing, then who are you facing? And what makes you fighting this level of opposition the GWOAT? What have you done for women's boxing outside of being egotistical, negative, and being a fucking social media fucking... what have you contributed to the sport? Making it look ridiculous by calling out men. But she's the GWOAT. And we know why these people want her to identify as the GWOAT, because she's a Black American. It's the same reason they want a Black American man as pound for pound number 1. They don't care if there's like 5 Black Americans at number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if there's a non-Black American at number 1, they're going to cry racism. They're going to cry how Black Americans are not treated fair, even though the next 5 could all be Black Americans. Talking about how they're all represented, they're all fucking respected, and they're all getting tons of accolades by being number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But that's not good enough, because it's this false fucking, false narrative that people want to push about Black Americans' dominance in boxing today. We're not talking historical. We're talking today. And today, Black American men are not dominating the sport. Even Black American women. Let's see. Are they dominating the sport? Really? Are they? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. There's only one way to see. Let's see what BoxRec has for the pound for pound top women in the sport of boxing. So I'm not saying BoxRec's pound for pound rankings are great, but at least what they're going to do is they're going to show you all the top women, even if you disagree with their positioning. So Sineste Estrada is number 1. Tina Thorsberg is number 2. Katie Taylor, number 3. Amanda Serrano, number 4. Kine Steffi Enrique, never heard of her. She's number 5. Yocasta Valle is number 6. Clarissa Shields is number 7. Delphine Persoon. Oh, yeah, look. So that's Taylor, fought Serrano, and she faced fucking Persoon. Wow, that's pretty good. Chantel Cameron. So to the top 10 pound for pound female boxers in the world, Katie Taylor's fought and beat 3 of them. Whereas if you look at people Clarissa Shields beat in the top 10, it's 0. So right now, 3 pound for pound fighters to 0. Just another way to emphasize who really is the GWOAT. Then you got Evelyn Bermudez at number 10, Yancy Plata at number 11, Gabriel Funduro at number 12, Yamil Mercado at number 13, Yolando Bop, 14, Natasha Jonas, she's black but English, number 15. Mikhail Mayer, number 16. Mikhail Mayer, that's a girl also fucking Clarissa Shields should fight, right? Because she's a big girl, she's a slick boxer, and she's got name recognition. Tanke Tsunami. I wonder if Tanke Tsunami is related to the Tsunami brothers. Sky Nicholson, Gabriel Alanis, Gabriel Bermudez, Merlin Esparza. So in the top 25, there's literally 1 black American, and that is Clarissa Shields. I'm just saying. Black American dominance in male boxing, no. And in female boxing, no. This doesn't mean black Americans aren't great boxers. They are. And the history shows they are. But currently, even men's boxing, you got Crawford, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevens, 3 black Americans. They also have Jaron Ennis at 11 and Devin Haney at 12, right? Like we said, BoxRec. But so they have 5 black Americans in the top 12. So a lot of black American representation. But people will be upset because Usyk is number 1 above Crawford. Anui is number 3 above Tank Davis. Pivel, Canelo, Beterbiev, Junto Nakatani, David Benavidez above Shakur, Ennis, and Haney. And I don't know how you could put Boots Ennis at number 11. He's never beaten a world champion. I ain't hating on him. But as a 27-year-old world champion, he's literally never beaten a world champion. William Cepeda is 13, never won a world title. Jesse Bam Rodriguez is number 14, yet he should be above Cepeda, Haney, Ennis. Right now, you could potentially put him above, easily above fucking Benavidez. You potentially could put him above Shakur too, potentially. But like 4 of the guys, easily you could. Lomachenko should be higher. AJ's a heavyweight. Teofimo Lopez. Charlo even should be ranked? He hasn't fought fucking how long? I mean, you shouldn't be ranked on the pound for pound list if you're no longer ranked on the regular list. If you go look at middleweight rankings, Charlo's not ranked because he's been inactive. Virgil Ortiz, fucking Errol Spence, Kenshiro Taraji, Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank just got knocked out last year, and he's like 23. Takumi Inui and Hamza Shiraz. And I like Hamza Shiraz. But how's Hamza Shiraz ranked 25 when he's never fucking beaten a world champion? He's ranked literally above Janibek, who's a unified champion in the same division. But if you look here, okay, so they have 5 black Americans in the top 12. And in women's boxing, they have 1. So of the top 20 positions in boxing, men's and women's, you have 6 black Americans and 14. Actually, it's more. It's probably 16 non-black Americans and 6 black Americans, right? So obviously, black America is doing great with the small percentage that they have of the global population. They're representing big time. And no one says they're not. But to talk about them dominating, they're obviously not dominating either, because boxing is becoming more global and we're getting a lot of fighters from around the world. So it's not so easy for black Americans to have such an impact that they did historically. That's not a bad thing. It just shows the growth of boxing and the growth of boxing around the world. And that's a good thing. But people like some people on YouTube They just want to push racial politics consistently. They want to get offended that some people don't rate Clarissa Shields because they think it's based on racism. No, maybe they just think she's a cunt, right? Because she's not a likable person. Literally, nothing about her is likable. You've never heard an interview from her that you walked away thinking, oh, I respect her based on that. Never, 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 never. Maybe it's just me. But you can feel free to leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time.